What's going on, guys? My name is Matthew. I talk a lot. My last name's Freeman. I'm here because I am going to start a new thing. I want to start a new thing called Story Time. And it's practically just me telling you a story of something that happens in my life at some point for whatever reason I decide to talk about. But I got a lot, and obviously these would be really long if I just went on some tangent like normal. So we're going to try and stick with one story per video. Some might be long, some might be short. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. So, I got a lot of things written down already. So, it doesn't look like much, but each one of these is a different thing. So, even if I did just what was already written down, I'd probably have like 15 videos that I could record. Like I said, some probably going to be a lot longer than others. Um, but I'm going to start off with my sticky note prank in high school that went in a way that I did not expect it to. Henceforth, why it is a story that will live with me forever. And, I don't know. But, so to actually reference this story, if you're from Ohio, then you probably have taken this. It might have changed its name by now, being as I've been out of school for over 10 years. And but there's this thing that you have to take in Ohio called an OGT, and an OGT is the Ohio graduation test. And the I was thinking about this a couple weeks back. I is what made me really start rethinking about this event that happened in my life because of some stuff I was talking about on like a class thing on high school. A lot of people had surprisingly remembered this happening to me, which I just think was funny because I didn't really think even then that a lot of people knew what was going on behind the scenes almost. But so yes, those GTs, and you have to take them your freshman year, your sophomore year, or your junior year, and your senior year. And now technically, if you pass them early, you don't have to take them again. You just passed it. It's just a test about a specific subject, and you have to pass this test before you graduate. That's for Ohio graduation test. Now, like most things in life, and most tests in life, my brain was just like blank, and I just sat in front of it and was like, I have no idea. Um, I don't know how it happened, being as I failed social studies or history all of my high school and had to take 4 years worth of social studies in my senior year to graduate on time. But it's still the fact that I passed my social studies test my very first year taking it in the OGT, which, like I said, I have zero idea why. So the way it works is there's like 5 or 6 tests, and it's split between like 2 days, or 2 or 3 days. So like for 2 or 3 days straight, you have like very short days because the first like 3 hours or 3 or 4 hours of your day is devoted to the Ohio graduation test. And then the rest of the day is very short classes. They just kind of get you in so your teacher can just give you homework pretty much. If you're one of those people that actually did that stuff, I should say. But so if if you passed the test, the next year that you had to go and take the OGTs again, because obviously if you didn't pass the other ones, you have to retake those ones. On the days that you would have to take those classes or those OGTs that you've already passed, if it was the first class of the day, you didn't have to show up for school for like the first 2 hours. But if it was the second test of the day, you had to just sit at school for 2 hours, twiddling your thumbs, doing nothing, while everybody else took the test that you have already passed. And like I said, there was only one of those tests that I'd actually done that for, and leads to sticky note story. So what happened was they took all of the kids We had already passed the social studies test, and they all shoved us into one room. Now, surprisingly, there was like 40 or probably 50 of us in a room that literally usually had 30 kids in it, and that felt like that was pretty stuff. So, you had an extra 20 kids in there. It was loud and rambunctious, and they just let us go because, they were like, you already passed. Try to be a little bit respectful, not be too loud, but, go about, have yourself like a 2-hour study hall where you can just talk and do whatever. And I was voted class clown, so, I knew everybody. I was very friendly, and it was that big surprise that I was super friendly to everybody. I just didn't have, I had a group, like everybody has a group, but like, I was friends with everybody. There was not really like a group of people who ever, I guess, would have not liked me. So I just talked to a bunch of random kids that I know because they're in my grade and shit like that. There's this teacher, Mrs. Corey, which I never had her as a teacher, but I'd heard many things about her because she smoked cigarettes and she had a stroke. And she bobbed her head every like few seconds because it was like what do they call it? A neurological symptom of the stroke she had. It like makes her neck muscles twitch. So, I was in her classroom. She wasn't there. It was another teacher. But I was in her classroom, and I knew this because I would never have her through high school because she was what you consider a smart teacher. No offense, people who are teachers, but you have smart teachers and you have dumb teachers. Smart teachers are the teachers who teach like smart people, like the AP stuff, the stuff you have to be one of the top percentile of your class, smart as fuck, to be in. And I was not there. Surprisingly, I was for English. Not exactly sure how that worked, but that's a story for another time. So, for the most part, I never had smart teachers. I had what we consider dumb teachers, were the teachers that dealt with people like me and everybody else that gave them hell all day because we were just a bunch of idiots that didn't want to learn anything, and they were the idiots that actually chose to stand in front of us idiots and try to teach us. That's why you're a dumb teacher. Not that you're actually dumb, it's just that you're the teacher who teaches the dumb people. So I was in smart teacher's room, and because of my nature and I was not the greatest person in mental thought in high school. I saw a pile of sticky notes. We're talking probably over 1,000 sticky notes, right? She had like a package that was opened and then like 4 packages that were still sealed, but they were all sitting together. And I just took them. I don't know, I was like, I don't know what actually possessed my brain to do the steps that we're about to take on, but like, I thought I was being the funniest, coolest person in the world, and it was pretty awesome besides the aftermath. When the OGTs let out and we were doing our short classes bouncing around, I got this idea in my head of like, how do you get rid of sticky notes, okay? You just stick them somewhere, And so it started as I'd walk down the hallway and I'd stick one on somebody's locker, or maybe on this person's locker, this on the wall, slap one up on the ceiling because I'm tall as fuck and can't touch ceilings where most people can't. And, after 3-4 short periods go by, I'm walking down this hallway to go put more sticky notes, and I'm starting to realize that there's already 100 sticky notes stuck all down this hallway. Obviously, all from me. Everybody's starting to question it now. Everybody in school's like, who's putting sticky notes everywhere? It was just this thing, like they were growing, and nobody knew where they were coming from. So once I realized that I was building this sticky note empire that nobody knew about, I was like, oh, now this is a thing. So it was like my goal. I didn't really care much about the day to begin with, but I devoted my entire day into nothing but putting those sticky notes in every conceivable spot you could think of. The bathrooms, every classroom I entered. Sometimes I entered people's classrooms, and stuck ones on the wall and had people be like, oh, realize it's like, it's Matt, he's putting the sticky notes, just for shits and giggles. And again, my school had cameras, so yes, the cameras in the school were watching me place sticky notes everywhere. I knew it was happening, and I figured, what's the worst thing they're gonna do? They're gonna make me come down and clean up all the sticky notes. Okay, sure, I don't care. I'll waste a couple hours of my day on peeling all the sticky notes I put everywhere yesterday because I did it for funsies. Actually, I think it was a Friday. Um, it might have been, I don't know. Anyways, um, so yeah, I did this all day, literally to the point where I ran out of sticky notes, and I felt so accomplished. And when the day ended, everybody was still in this buzz of like, oh my god, there's literally like 1,000 sticky notes all over the school, and no one knows where they came from. And I'd be like, it was me. It was me. You wait. Monday, the principal's going to calm me down. You know, that's how I'm going to stay famous for the sticky note prank. Because that was what it was for me. It was just a sticky note prank. I was just going to put sticky notes all over the place. And, I mean, it wasn't, you know, YouTube wasn't a thing. Well, I mean, it was a thing, but it wasn't the thing. And, you know, it wasn't like I was doing that to be like, oh, I'm going to put it on YouTube. Like, it was just a funny prank. I don't even know if I would have called it a prank. I just did it. And, but where things turned quite south for me was things escalated in a way that I had not thought of because, I mean, I'm pretty sure most normal people wouldn't have thought of this outcome. But I'm sitting at home, you know, just finished eating dinner with my family. We're sitting in the living room watching, or either watching something or about to watch something. And there's a knock at my door. My father answers it, and there's two police officers standing in front of the door. And they say, hi, sir, is Matt Freeman available? And it was like, what the fuck? I got the cops. You know, I didn't actually know at the time. You know, it was just like, why are the cops here? You know, Dad's kind of giving me a weird look. And the cop, when I'm standing outside, now obviously I'm young enough where my father had to be there. So, you know, me and my dad stand outside, and the cop says, you know, what'd you do today? You know, he's got his smile, you know, so I'm thinking, like, you know, he can't be that mad because, like, you know, he's smiling about whatever it was that I did, so I'm like, I don't know, like, what are you referencing? Because maybe I've done more than one bad thing today. And, he goes, what'd you do at school today? And, you know, boom, light bulb, it hits in my head because obviously, like I said, I knew doing it that I was going to get in trouble for it. I didn't think in any way, shape, or form it would lead to the police being involved, which isn't even the climax of the seriousness of the whole thing was the cops being involved. It was just like the real starting climb where I was like, whoa, shit, this is crazy, and then it really just goes off. But um, and so, you know, but once he says that, you know, light bulb goes off my head, I get this big smile because, like I said, like again, I didn't even know how a cop would approach that situation. Like, yeah, the school wants you to clean that up. Like that's literally what I thought was going to come to. I thought the school would approach me, but when the cop showed up, I was like, oh man, maybe they just make the police do it instead of the school being like, hey, you have to come back and clean this up. So, again, because I'm still young and confused as to how someone could physically, like, be criminally charged for putting sticky notes all over the place. And the teacher, the police officer told me this a little bit later, but I'm just going to add this in now just because I know some of you are probably trying to put pieces together and figure out why these cops were involved in this situation. But the teacher involved that I stole the sticky notes from did not care, okay? So they weren't like charging me for stealing up the sticky notes, okay? She literally thought it was actually funny. Most people thought it was funny. It was a bunch of sticky notes all over the place. Um, so, you know, cop physically asks me again, what is it that you did? He wants me to physically admit out loud, you know, that I put these sticky notes everywhere. And you know, my dad, he's mean mugging me because now he's thinking, like, oh my god, what'd you do at school today? Because I got this big smile, you know, and everything. I was like, I found a box of sticky notes on the teacher's desk and I took them and I stuck them all over the school. I was like, it covered everywhere. And the cops laughing. He was like, I'm not kidding to you. We got called up there And he's like, and when we walked in, we were mind blown how many sticky notes. And I was like, dude, I was putting sticky notes down like once every 30 seconds, maybe. I was just like, everywhere. So he then proceeds to start confuse me by saying, and what did you do in the bathroom? You know, things start getting a little serious now. Faces weren't smiling. And I was like, I put sticky notes in the bathroom. I put them everywhere. There wasn't anywhere that I didn't put them besides the girls' bathroom. I did not go in there because that's not okay. I guess nowadays society it is okay, but we'll get past that. So I told the police I stuck sticky notes in there, and that's about it. And he proceeds to then tell me that apparently, if it wasn't me, because again they have no proof it was me, even though I was admittedly the guy who put the sticky notes everywhere, somebody went into the boys' bathroom and wrote a bomb threat on one of the sticky notes. Do you know how many boys go into that bathroom throughout the day? They had no time frame of being like, oh, it could have been written between here and here, and so it was these group of guys. The only certainty they had was that I had stuck the sticky notes everywhere. So, as you may assume, I mean, I wasn't like arrested. I was a kid, and you know, and they didn't, like I said, they didn't have proof. So it was more like we're keeping our eye on you. But I got a big scare there. You know, it wasn't over. Don't get me wrong. This is not the end of this. So I got a big scare there. You know, my parents drilled me a lot. They really wanted, you know, people, even teachers and principals talked to me. I mean, like, people wanted me to admit to something that I didn't do. Okay, and it sucked because, like, again, I understand that the circumstances. It was like I was like holding the murder weapon kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, I don't know how to prove to you it wasn't me, but I didn't do it. All I did was stick the sticky notes there. So what they did, inevitably what freed me as a human being, because I swear I did not do this, they had a specialist come in a couple days later into school. Meanwhile, mind you not, I was expelled. Don't get me wrong. Until this was solved, this was like, hey, you're not coming back. So, like a week later, a couple days later, whatever it was, they allowed my parents to drive me up to the school. I apologize if I'm a little behind in the sense of I just checked somebody in. It's 2:30 in the mornings, and like, yeah, kind of forgot-ish where I was. I remembered that I was talking about the specialist, but the polices showed up with a handwriting specialist. They made me sit in a room with this person for, I don't even know actually how long it was, but felt like fucking forever because, you know, all that fucking pressure's on you. And they gave me all kinds of things I had to write, you know, and then it's weird because they're like, just write like you normally would, but then the whole time you're writing, you're like, am I writing wrong? Because, like, you know, like I didn't write it, so like I don't want to make my handwriting look like I had wrote it. So I'm panicking and thinking that I'm trying to make I'm thinking about it so much that my handwriting is gonna start looking like it because, and I mean, fortunately for me, by the time that I got the quote unquote results back, the person was like, no, there's no way this guy wrote this message because I still to this day don't have great handwriting. It's not really a I mean it can look nice at times, but that's if I take time, and most times I don't take time. Um, uh, Funny enough, so actually I guess we'll just finish off real quick. So I inevitably got let back to school. You know, my expulsion didn't count, even though it was like a 5-day vacation, I guess, because, you know, it's like they expelled me for something that I didn't do. I mean, yes, I stuck the sticky notes all over and they weren't happy about it. Actually, surprisingly enough, as the school said, the only people really that were unhappy about it were the custodians, because they were the ones that had to go around and pick them all up. So I did feel bad. I totally would have came back and picked them up if anybody offered me to do that, but no one said a thing, so I obviously wasn't at like 15 or 16, wasn't going to be like, oh, let me come pick those up. Like, I just didn't care. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was just I get the severity of it. Like, I understand that, like, it was a very bad moment. That's why I still feel hard for me to tell this story, because it's just that fact of, like, it just seems so evident that I was the person who did it. And when they're like, thank God that I suck at writing things, because, like, the guy said, there wasn't a single word or stroke of a sentence that even came similarly close. And, you know, they made me write probably over 100 things because of the fact of, you know, if you're, like, purposely changing the way you write to try to write different, and you do it 100 times, you're going to show it's going to show up. You know, they're smart. I don't know how this shit exactly works, but regardless, I was in the clear, and they were like, you're good. So I got to go back to school, and everything was fine. Then everybody knew, like I said, I didn't know the severity of how much people knew about the situation. I knew that people knew that I was the one that did sticky notes, and then I got expelled for it. But I don't know I didn't know that people realized that the police were involved. And then, like I said, a few weeks back, somebody in my Facebook group, my high school Facebook group, they're the ones that said, like, hey, you guys remember when Matt got told by the cops for that whole sticky note bomb threat thing? And I was just like, why do you remember that? Like, I try not to remember that, and other people remember that shit. So that obviously, like I said, that got the ball rolling and made me start thinking about it more a lot again. It was, man, that's one of those things where, like I said, I just did what I thought was just a harmless prank, and somebody turned it into something really bad, and it could have bit me in the ass. Now, what I was going to say earlier, and I will end with, is ironically, they did catch the person who did write it, but it wasn't for years later, and I was still in high school, but, like, he inevitably did another one where I don't know, we had two where people called him in, and one where somebody also wrote something. I think it was on, like, a calculator or something stupid like that. But one of those 3 times was this person who inevitably wrote the one that was on my sticky note. And I don't know why you, as a person, would say that. Maybe, I don't know if he could get in trouble for it still, or maybe it had been long enough where he thought maybe he was in the clear for it. I don't know. But this person, when they got in trouble for it the second time, they admitted, without anybody even questioning, they just admitted to having been the one who wrote it on the sticky note. So, on top of that, it would have cleared me again, you know, if I would have somehow got charges for something I didn't do. But, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, simple harmless joke in my world turns into, you know, violent fucking police involved, fucking specialists for writing. I mean, like, ridiculous. But this is the first episode of Storytime with Matt. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a little longer than I thought, but thing is, I have realized nowadays I can't make short videos. It's not that surprising. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, a like would be much appreciated. You know, I'd ask anybody if they've been in a similar situation. I'm gonna probably guess that that's a probably pretty rare situation to be placed in. Not gonna say I'm the only person who's ever had it happen to them, but probably not a lot of you out there. Not a lot of you out there probably watch my stuff. So, I will see you guys next time for the next one. And hopefully this video doesn't turn out too bad. I'm using my laptop instead of my phone, which is technically supposed to have a better camera, but when I'm looking at the video, it does not look better than my phone, so I'm not sure. my beard is getting long, and the more I stand here or sit here and talk to you guys, the more I realize I need to shave it. Goodbye. Have a good night. Day. Whatever it is.